Get ready here. And we are live. Welcome to Triple T number 27, July 5th, 2022. Holy cow, we made it 27 of these already. If this is your first time tuning in, please hit the subscribe button and ring the bell and all the above. My name is TJ. I call myself a professional problem solver. Amongst a bunch of other things life has thrown at me. Been working as a professional hypnotist since 2009. Zip, it happens just like that. On Triple T, if this is your first time watching, for the first hour, I open up my brain bucket and share things that I've learned. And then the second hour, we open up the platform, kind of like open mic session. And if you have questions, inputs, ahas, things that you would like help with, no question is too dumb, and I truly mean that. So tonight, here we go. One thing I like to start off with is, for those of you that were with us last week, any ahas, epiphanies, things you'd like to share before we get into Planet TJ on the Run? Bueller? All right. Well, I guess we'll dive into it. For those of you that have been along with the ride before, you know that I pick things up along the way during the week and talk about them. And one thing that popped up a couple of times this week came down to questions and the importance of getting really good at asking questions. I believe it was Abraham Lincoln who said the quote that if I had, I think it was 4 hours to cut down a tree, I'd invest the first 2 hours in sharpening the axe. And the metaphor was learning, figuring out what questions to ask to make sure that he could get through to the answer as quickly as possible. Especially in the work that I do, it's digging. Question. And in utilizing the questions, a lot of times the reframe, the information, the causes just naturally pop out. But there are a lot of different ways to get better at it. One thing I would recommend for anybody who hasn't looked into this before is to take a class, start learning neuro linguistic programming. The thing about NLP that you're going to find out is it's the building blocks for conversation. But as such, when you become proficient at it, you start learning how to ask questions in a certain way that you can weave and bob around all of the blocks or walls that people try to put up to hide stuff, fight stuff. NLP is amazing at shutting down arguments. I had lots and lots of practice after taking a couple of classes of NLP because I still was running my maintenance company, taking care of college rental houses. And those highly educated chillins love to argue because they know everything, not realizing that they were basically bringing a butter knife to a howitzer fight. I'm like, all right, bring it on, man. Come on, let's talk. Tell me what you believe. And then I would take that and skillfully dissect it. And when I left, they had no idea how they lost. They just know that it was quick and painful. I'm fine with that. The other thing about it is, in doing so, the rewards in life and in public are very fruitful. I have a lot of fun with it, especially when shopping. Those of you that know me, one of my secondary homes is Home Depot. Sometimes I think I should probably get my mail delivered there. It'd probably be easier. But they also know that I have a way of asking stuff like, how badly might you want to get rid of this ugly item? Versus, can I get a discount on this? It's a little beat up. And the amount of times that they've looked at it, and of course you'll get the sales rep or the manager that's, yeah, no, I can't discount that. And I'm like, all right, well, then I'll be like the rest of the people and I'll take the pretty box if I'm going to pay full price. But when it gets down to the last one, I might take this one if you got room for a discount. Because the money's out there. And money is a squirrel that's going to be running around a lot tonight. So if you have questions regarding money and stuff like that, or if you got questions on questions, again, please speak up, raise your hand, jump right in. That's what this is about. But as such, does anybody have any input on what I've covered so far? I know I threw a bunch of stuff out in a whole 6 whopping minutes, but yes, Francie.
I have a question.
Yeah. Please.
As I'm not talking about myself. If you as a therapist use the wrong questions, or if you're not very good with questions, people will feel questioned. So it's kind of a very fine line between asking the right questions and I'm just saying so because I did a hypnosis on a friend yesterday, and she had questions. Another therapist did questions, but she felt like questions. So how do you make sure that you ask the right questions without impeding on? I know I suppose it's part of, I was reflecting a lot of the words. However, I was kind of tiptoeing around a little bit. I wanted her to feel comfortable and able to be totally open. And eventually she was, but it kind of took a little bit of time because of, I thought it was the questions. I'm not sure it was, but maybe it was just...
A good part of that is going to be intention. For one, if you are truly curious for the right reasons, even if the question you ask is not, as polished as it could be, if they can feel your intention that you're truly trying to help them,
okay,
it allows you.
Okay.
Yeah, it allows a lot more ability to,
Because,
uh,
I just wanted the best for her. You know what I
yeah,
mean? What
yep,
I thought was not important, it was more about her. So, okay, so that was probably, so I could have just done not be my normal self and not tiptoe so much around it. Um,
yeah.
yeah, I felt maybe this is also my problem. I don't know.
And
Yeah.
Elijah, it looks like he's got some input on that.
I want to say something that most people are going to be uncomfortable with, but
Good.
it is amazing. Francine, you are to provoke people, right? I'm not even being funny. Some of the best therapy I've done and some of the best results I've gotten are when I was bold enough to poke and prod and really provoke someone. You see, here's the thing with hypnosis, right? And here's the thing with traditional hypnosis versus conversational hypnosis, okay? The whole point of putting someone into a deep trance, altered state where they're like this, is to slow everything down. Because when you slow everything down, it allows us, the coach, the therapist, the guide, more time to see what's going on, take it in, and then go to the next step. But the other way to slow things down is to never leave now and stay in uptime and remain present. And in those cases, sometimes the responses, because you're in uptime, are so fast and so unconscious, and because you're processing and it's much more back and forth, much more fluid, they are not so easy to see, the unconscious responses I'm talking about. And so when you provoke someone, all you are really doing is increasing the intensity of the response that you get, so it's easier for you to see. You don't think of it as making them uncomfortable. If that's a thing that bothers you, you can say it right up front. And I used to actually do this with every single client. Is I used to say, listen, here's the thing. Okay, if I ask you the same kind of questions that you've been asking yourself or that other people have been asking you, we're going to end up with the same kind of results. So is it okay that I might ask you some questions that may feel a little bit different, a little bit strange? You don't have to answer them if you don't want to, but they might be a little bit strange questions, to the extent that it will help you get your outcome. And as soon as you put that to the extent that it will help you get your outcome in there, everybody says yes. Right? And then it's okay to poke and prod, because you've mentioned it up front that, hey, I'm a professional here. I'm going to use every trick in my bag to help you get your outcome. I'm not holding back. And if you're not holding back, as a team, we're going to get this done. So it's okay to provoke people, as long as, like TJ said, the intention behind it is that you are going to help and you're doing it to help, and that you're not there to just be mean to people. That's my alarm saying, TJ's thing has started, you're late. Right? So it is 12 minutes past 12. So yeah, I need an alarm in case I already fell asleep. But yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to say. It's okay to poke and prod. And I'm sure you've seen me do it, in the Aussie hypnosis meetup. I'm sure you've seen me poke and prod at Aaron or poke and prod at Fran or one of the others, where I might ask a question that makes them a little bit uncomfortable. But the fact of the matter is, if you're not willing to go there, then why are you here? Why are you asking for my help? I thought we were here to solve this. I mean, you're paying top dollar because I don't charge low prices. So you might as well get it done. That's kind of the attitude I have. It's a little bit cold, a little bit in your face, but it works for me. And you can edit it and change it and shift it slightly so that it works for you.
Absolutely. Lenora?
45 buttons. One speaker, Kenrick Cleveland, he says that he's approaching it like he's a physician. He has questions. He's approaching it very specifically, like the others are saying. You're wanting to solve the problem, so we're going to ask you questions about the problem, and they might not be, when it's a friend, you're dabbling in both, and some people have the ability to willingly work with you as a professional and still be your friend afterwards. Some people can do it, in both areas. But basically, if you approach it as, I want to solve the problem. So the questions that I'm going to ask you, like Elijah had said, they will be provoking. I know TJ has asked when I worked with him one-on-one, he's pushed quite a bit, and it's not comfortable, but it's taxing enough for my conscious to check out. And we're both, everybody, whoever I'm working with, we're there to solve the problem, whether I'm the one leading or guiding them or somebody else is guiding and leading me. It's about the problem, and to be able to put aside that it's not judgmental. We want to solve the problem together. So if you kind of put it out on the floor in front of you, you can attack it together. It's not in the, you're doing this such and such way.
Yeah. Listen, sorry, TJ.
Go ahead.
Simple one, okay? Right. In my mind, I when I'm doing live sessions, obviously on Zoom, it's one thing, right? But when I'm doing live sessions with people, I never sit across from them. I always sit next to them, right? We're shoulder to shoulder, and we face the same direction because we have the same outcome. And in your mind, even if you are facing the other person sitting opposite them, in your mind, you should see it as it's me and them against that problem. They're not the problem. You're not your emotions, you're not your feelings, you're not your memories. What makes you think you're your problem? That's part of the disidentifying from it. Yeah. And so this is a consulting deal. Okay. I know how to run a process, but you, and especially your unconscious mind, have the information. So we need each other. And it's me and them against that problem. And I can be really, really soft with the person and really hard as hell on the problem at the same time. Yeah. And I think that has to kind of come across what TJ was saying with the intention and the way you ask your question, the tone of your voice and all that. When that comes through on that kind of below the conscious level through the way you ask the question, how you say what you say, then I think you'll be all right. And slightly poking and provoking people is actually not that deep. It's not that big a thing. And you'll be all right.
Another part I want to add to that, if you're doing it in a therapeutic environment where they've come to you for help, getting that pushback, that reaction, those that are trained, especially through Dr. David Snyder, we know when we see that, that's when we dig in even harder. That's why one of the first things that we do is teach all the students how to deal with abreactions. Most trainers, and I've now dealt with a couple of trained practitioners, and when they see an abreaction, they're like, "Oh, close the box. Okay, well, you're doing good. You're going to be fine, and I'll talk to you again next week or something." Whereas,
you know what David said to me? He said, "This is what they're going to tell you," and he told us how to put it back in the box.
Yeah.
And he said, "Okay, now that I've told you what to do, here's the thing." And he looked straight at me in the class and he went, "As long as you got the hood up, you might as well fix the fucking car."
Yeah.
Right? And obviously assuming you have permission, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Like we said, we run into the burning building when everyone else is running out.
Yep. And see.
Yeah, we were taught that as soon as there's an abreaction, is that the scene fades and you're all right, or something like that.
Yep. That scene fades and you tend to your breathing.
Listen, it's a very valuable phrase. I'm not gonna put it down. It's a very valuable phrase, right? It's if you don't think you're equipped to handle it,
yes.
If you're not ready, or if it catches you off guard, if you feel your own state wavering, use it.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
Very important, right? This is your in case of emergency, get out of jail free card.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And another great
place. If you've got the confidence to do it, then do it. You know?
Another great place to work to use that is if the abreaction is outside of therapy, in public. somebody is losing something triggered them, so they're losing their, you can easily walk up to them and, hey, and the scene fades and you tend to your breathing. And the scene and the people around are going, what the hell's he doing? And the person have the abstraction just
Yeah.
and
In that,
you
in
control
that
it from there.
situation, you kind of have to learn to and be okay with kind of getting in someone's face a little bit, because you have to grab their attention. If
Yep.
they're having like a panic attack, right? You need to, like, you can't give them a suggestion until you got their attention.
Yep.
And I learned this
Stop, start
from watching Jerry Kine's course, right? Because he used to ride around. Imagine Jerry Kine used to ride around in ambulances with paramedics looking for accidents so he could get in people's faces and make them calm down quicker than drugs. Yep. This is next level hypnosis, guys. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The guy was a legend. Absolutely.
But you see stuff like that, and it allows you to know that these are applications that are real world. Holy cow! You know that I've had the privilege of working with screaming kids in stores. You know, most people, they hear the kids screaming and yelling, and they're like, "Oh, can't you just take the kid out to the car? Oh my God, duct tape or something." And I'm like,
and TJ's like,
"Yeah, hey, can I help your kid quick?" And they're like, "What? Do they know colors?" And I'll do the color game with them, and 2-3 minutes, the kid's all happy and smiling, and the parents are like, what kind of voodoo was that? I'm like, I can teach it to you if you'd like. But the rest of the store is like, I don't know what he did, but so I know we tossed a whole lot of stuff out there. Anybody have any questions on what we just covered on terminology or stuff that we brought up? Anybody? Bueller. Now all my squirrels just ran into one place and ran out the other side, and I didn't grab any of them. Living with squirrels. Let's, if anybody has any questions on that, don't hesitate to jump back into it. I wanted to touch on the other subject that I picked for this week, which is, just caught one of the squirrels. Questions. Another part of questions that hit me was not only curiosity, but playfulness as a child. How many questions did you ask as a kid? Have you been around kids and it'll drive you almost insane as an adult if you forget that they're just curious all the time. Why is this? And sometimes the question of why is to see how far they can push the boundaries. But in understanding that as well, learning how to flip the tables and do reframes and start asking them questions in return is a good way of, I don't know, I guess what you could call it fencing with the kids, especially the teenagers who are at the point where they think they know everything. And not that I've had to deal with, less than a couple thousand of them, but other than that, the majority of them like to think that as an adult, we don't know nearly as much as they do because they've experienced the world in their Xbox and their iPhone. And when you start asking them certain questions with the proper intention, you can enhance their ability, but you also have the ability to make them build walls. So there is that part of the attack, which segues right into dreams and blocks. Thinking back to when we were young and didn't realize that there was real life activity out there and that the world doesn't really care about you, no matter how special you think you are or how many 12th place ribbons you have on your wall or participation trophies you've been given along the way. At some point, you're going to find out the hard way that, yeah, you're going to have to make it on your own. And some of those dreams seem harder than they are. And we'll take them, and just like packing up stuff when we're moving, you'll just start, well, that dream's not going to happen. You put it in the box. Yeah, that dream, yeah, that's a little too big for me now, and start putting that away. And yeah, that one was too much childish. You put that away like your favorite toy when you were a kid. And when we get older, we've put so much stuff away in response to things that were told to us, and life changes and, adulting. And sometimes we forget that now that we're older, those dreams only seemed huge because we were kids. But we forgot what they meant to us. And I've had a number of clients that I've worked with now that when we start going in and we start looking at this stuff, all of a sudden they remember that they wanted to learn how to play guitar. But they put that dream away when they were like 8 because somebody handed them this big guitar that they could barely put their hands over and strum, and it sounded terrible, and their older sibling laughed at them, told them they were an idiot. They believed it, and they took that dream and went, and threw it away. And now they're 30, and they had forgotten how much that meant to them. And with the technology and the ways of teaching nowadays, that dream isn't this big. It's about this big, and it's manageable. And sometimes we have to go in and take another assessment. What were our dreams when we were a kid? Why? Who's in our life now that we can trust that dream with and share it with? Now, if you got kids that are older and all of a sudden one of them says, it'd be cool to learn how to play guitar, and all of a sudden, bing, you're like, I really wanted to learn to play guitar when I was a kid. What would happen if the two of you decided to have a competition to see who could learn it faster? Competition is good sometimes. And understanding the blocks that took those dreams away or built a wall in front of it, and being able to decide, back when you were a kid, if a wall got put in place, well, that was a big wall. It was like 7 bricks high. I couldn't even see over the top of it. Of course, I was all of 3'5". But now that I'm 6'4", I can sit on that wall. And the lessons that I've learned along the way will help show exactly what that wall is made of and how insignificant it is and who helped put it there. A lot of times, friends and family, the ones that care about us the most. But we can't blame them after the age of 18. That's one thing that I constantly allow my clients to understand. Once you turn 18, you don't get to blame anything on the past because you're old enough to make choices. You can't blame it on your parents or where you grew up or how much money you had or your friends that you hung out with or any of that stuff. Because you had the choice to change it. Oh, but how you doing there? Oh, I came from a poor family. Yeah? Anybody came from worse experiences than you and made it? Well, yeah, but they got lucky. Uh-huh. Or maybe they just decided to make the choices that got them to where they are.
And luck is controllable.
What's that?
And luck is controllable.
Luck is controllable.
You remember that lesson? Get lucky for life. You remember that one David did? I actually, honestly, this is a true story. About 4 years ago, one day I decided that I'm going to be lucky from now on. And I started telling everybody, I'm the luckiest person you'll ever meet. No. And I just said it like I meant it. And every single time something went even slightly my way, I went, see, I am lucky.
Yes.
And I pointed it out. And every single time something kind of didn't go my way, I went, well, you can't win them all. Right. And I tell you now, honestly, no word of a lie, I am genuinely, without even trying, one of the luckiest people you will ever meet. There is a story in some of the group chats and the things that we're in. I shared, I had a horrible thing happen on Friday to a good friend of mine, and it would have happened to me, and I missed it by about 30 minutes, and it would have been a seriously traumatic thing. And I'm just lucky, you know what I mean? And that's the one thing that David taught us about luck. Well, he taught us a few things about luck, but the first thing about luck is that all people who are in fact lucky self-identify as lucky people.
Absolutely.
That's the first thing, right? The first thing is anybody who is genuinely lucky. There are people out there that, they leave like $100 bills on the floor, and the people who don't think they're lucky don't even see it. They did the experiment. They walked right past it, didn't even see it. Right?
Yep.
But all the people who identified themselves as being lucky people picked it up.
And Holly shared the topic, The Secret of Luck by Darren Brown is also an interesting one on the topic of luck. And I've seen it too many times to not believe it's true. Yes, the people
Is that the one with the dog? Is that the one with the lucky dog in the park?
Yes, it is.
It's amazing. Everybody should watch that. It's so amazing.
Yep. Yes, Francine.
I'm very lucky. I've always been very lucky. Even bad things happened to me, I was always very lucky. One of the most amazing things is that I think I was about 12 when I read a French book about Australia. And I said, I want to live in Australia. I want to be able to speak English. And yeah, I am in Australia and I speak English. So yeah, I think if you keep focused on what you want, and you can make your own luck. That's true. I do agree. I haven't read the book, but yeah, or watched the whatever thing Darren Brown you just shared with us. But yeah, you can make your own luck. Definitely.
Yep. Anybody else got any input on that? Yes, Joe?
Just real quick, you don't have to be 6'4" to sit on that wall TJ was talking about.
No.
Yeah. If
But
you're
if
only
it's-
5'1", you can get up on that wall too.
All you really need to sit on that wall, if you're really just a small person, is a ladder or a chair. You know, it's not complicated.
Well, here's another way to look at it. There are probably ants on top of that wall, and they are definitely not 6'4". They just decided they wanted to be on top of the wall. And it just hit me, for those of you that are watching the replay on this or have no idea what the story about the lucky people, the study that they did on it, they took three groups of people. One group who identified as being very lucky. One group that was like, sometimes not. And then another group that identified as not being lucky. And they staged a restaurant and put some money in it. And the lucky group, the group that identified as being very lucky, found all the money almost immediately when walking in. Proportionately, the group that kind of thought they were lucky, some of them found the money, but a lot of money was still sitting there. The group that was unlucky was still trying to find the restaurant. But yeah, you know those kind of people, hopefully because you hang out with them and you're one of them. If not, you can change that. Even when, as Francine pointed out, as you go through your day, when things happen, that's one of the reasons why, what was it, 2 Triple T's ago, I said, you need to celebrate every victory, no matter how small. And you can put right into it. Freaking lucky. You know, the amount of money I find on the ground, yay! But I'm one of those, I see a penny on the ground, I'll pick it up, I'll tap it twice, and I'll go, thank you, Lord, for favor, and I'll put it in my pocket.
TJ, I saw a squirrel.
What?
I got a squirrel.
Squirrel, please.
I caught one.
Yes.
What if it wasn't just about luck? What if it was no matter what you self-identify as? What if you started telling yourself, you know, I'm really good at job interviews. You know, I'm really confident in front of strangers. Do you know what? I give the best presentations. And if you started telling yourself that, and not in a show-offy kind of way, telling other people that, but just humbly sort of, you know, I did a presentation once and I was quite scared, but it turned out to be not as hard as I thought it would be. And you kind of just humbly just have that in your life of, this is who I am. This is who I am. You keep telling yourself that's who you are. Is that not who you will become?
It is. Identity Management University at its finest.
Right. And the best time to think those thoughts is the last thing before you go to sleep.
What's that?
The best time to think those thoughts is to do it the last thing before you go to sleep.
Absolutely.
Because you'll find that if you do that often enough, eventually it'll be the first thing you think of when you wake up. And the next thing you know, you've got a loop.
And that's a good loop to be in.
Yeah. What if it worked with everything? Do you know what? I'm getting better and taking myself and going to the gym and actually working out. I'm getting better at it. Last year, I didn't even try.
Yeah,
This year I made it 3 whole times. That's an improvement,
that is an improvement.
right? You know, once, honestly, I used to like, you know, a lot of people know, like, obviously I have my own problems as well. I'm not perfect, right? Sorry to burst your bubble, but I'm not, right? Okay. Just human like the rest of you, but don't tell anyone, even though this is on YouTube. I went to the gym once with my brother and I couldn't lift this weight. And I'm not a gym going person and I'm not exactly the strongest sort of, you know, you see these guys and they're like all muscle bound, like 200 pounds on the bar and no problem. And there's me with like 50 pounds on the bar and I'm like, it wouldn't move. And I got upset. I was in a really terrible mood and I went home and I was all like stroppy and my brother said to me, do you know what, man? Yesterday you didn't even try. So it's got to be an improvement. Maybe next week it'll move an inch, right? Which means by scale, you're improving faster than anybody else. Because that person who's lifting 200 pounds, eventually he might get to 205 pounds. But the time it takes for him to get from 200 to 205, you'll be from 0 to 50 or 100. Because by scale, you have, you know, this law of diminishing returns, right? It's kind of like the last 20%, like, you know, 80% of the result comes from 20% of the work. And then the last 20% requires 80% more effort, kind of thing, right? So you have this law of diminishing returns. And I thought about it, and I was like, you know what? He's right. I didn't even try and push the bar yesterday. I must be improving. And the other thing he said to me, which it's not really relevant, but it kind of is, when I said to him I couldn't lift it, he said, don't tell me you couldn't lift it. Tell me you wouldn't lift it. And since that day, right, my brother knows nothing about hypnosis, right? But actually one of the best hypnotists on the planet without knowing it. Do you know what I mean? Since that day, every single time that I can remember, the word can't or couldn't comes up in my mind, I immediately stop and re-say the same sentence with the word won't or wouldn't instead.
Yes.
Right? And just to see how it makes me feel. I can't talk to her now. I'm too busy. Wait. If I stop and say, wait, I won't talk to her now because I'm too busy. Well, wait, am I really too busy? Why won't I talk to her? You know what I mean? And the next thing you know, it's like, well, I could, but I'm choosing not to. And if I choose not to, that's okay.
That's a choice.
I can choose not to.
Yes.
Right? But it's not that I can't. And that's important. That's very important. So I kind of want to throw that one in there as well, because we're talking about what awesome things my brother said. Francie?
You know what my dad used to say? Of course, it's French, but he used to say impossible is not French. So everything is possible.
That's great.
Nothing is. Yeah.
Impossible is not French. That's great.
Impossible n'est pas français. So yeah, that was his line. So when you say, oh, it's not possible or it's impossible, he says, no, that's not French. Apparently Napoleon used to say that.
Would you say it again in French?
Impossible n'est pas français.
Impossible n'est pas français.
Mm-hmm. My dad. Yeah.
That's amazing. I love that.
Yes, and I suppose that's why I've always managed to get what I want. Had to work at it, which is great. But yeah, it's. I think I need to give my dad more credit. Yeah, I was very lucky because I'm the youngest, and I used to work with my dad in the garage, so I'm good at, mechanical stuff, and I can do quasi anything from cooking to knitting to mechanical stuff. I think he never treated me just like a girl. He always wanted a son, and then decided, well, I'm the last one, he's not going to have any more children. He better teach me all of his knowledge as well. So I was pretty lucky. I'm pretty lucky. No.
There's another reason to thank him. Because you're still very much a woman, but you know those types of things, and guys find that quite appealing.
I think I'm a woman, and I'm a what do you call it, what is that saying? I'm a master of none, but better than the master of one.
Yeah, the full phrase, which few people understand, the saying everybody knows is "Jack of all trades, master of none."
But better than master of none, yeah. Yeah,
but they always forget the rest of the phrase. Do you know the rest of the phrase?
Yes, it's I'm a jack of all trade, better than the master of one.
Yes.
But a master of none, but better than the master of one. So if you, because I master quite a few things, not completely, but quite a lot. So yeah, you can put me into banking. I know how to do banking. You can put me in languages. I can translate. I've worked as a translator. You can put me in with psychologists. I understand what they're talking about. Yeah. So it's great because you know a lot of things. Many people don't know as much as I do.
Good answer. Mm. And the cool part is I've watched you, you're still learning.
Yes, definitely. It never stops. It never stops. And that's what's fun about it. I love learning. Yeah. I'm doing a psycho something course at the moment. I can't remember.
It's a great way, Francine. It's a great way to short circuit fear, actually. Now that I think about it, you could put the learning frame around anything to get rid of fear. What you were saying earlier about asking questions, right? Mm. And like, oh, I kind of want to be, I don't want to overstep on their toes, or I don't want to, come across too harsh. What if you put a learning frame around it and just sort of like, I wonder what would happen if I were to ask this question this way, how would they respond? And through no other expectation of anything, just to learn what works or what doesn't. Right? And once you put that learning frame around what you're going to try next, it kind of takes the pressure off because you're not expected to get it right. You're just out to learn. Right?
Yes, that makes a lot of sense. Thanks you, Elijah.
Welcome.
Any other input you guys have on that, or questions, or? This is what I like about this stuff. It's interesting when, especially with using questions about drilling down to dreams, and then again utilizing what I've come to call the trifecta, echo talk, three magic question, values, and criteria. Getting into utilizing them, especially with questioning, the stuff that you can uncover so much easier than just flat out asking to try and find an answer. And the quality of the answer that you get, the willingness to get the answer from the people that you're talking to. Also in line with speed of trust, which I have mentioned a number of times. When trust is high, it's even easier to ask questions because they know you well enough and trust you well enough that your intentions are not to harm, but to try and figure out basic answers. And sometimes I even, when I'm trying to work out stuff, like right now I've got a pretty big project going on in the shop. I'm remodeling an apartment in there. And I've learned that if I ask questions out loud, my subconscious wants to answer, wants to help out. And that, and combining it with one of my favorite phrases of, there's always at least 3 solutions to every event, situation, or problem that occurs. So I make it a strong practice that I have to come up with at least 3 viable answers, solutions, whatever, to what I'm trying to work out. And, if people were around me, that, oh, there he is talking to himself again. But the answers show up pretty vivid, pretty quick. So don't be afraid to audibly ask questions of your subconscious for things that you're trying to figure out. Sometimes they're a little easier to hear than saying them in your head when you've got 37 squirrels, 27 televisions, and a couple of radio stations all operating at the exact same time. Yes, sometimes if you could see in my mind, you would see a cross between a circus and a horror show and a high activity. Yeehaw. But those of you that know me, I know you're shocked. It's okay. Those of you that don't know me, no, I'm not talking about real squirrels. Relax. No squirrels were harmed during this entire process. And we do catch and release sometimes, most of the time, when we need to. So that brings me up to 9 minutes left of my time. Double check my electronic memory here. Oh, I don't know if I read this one before or not. I got a couple here that I don't believe that I. Without a positive attitude, success is called luck. With a positive attitude, success is called achievement. I'll read that one again and let it sink in. Without a positive attitude, success is called luck. With a positive attitude, success is called achievement. Another one, the wise man does at once what the fool does finally. Niccolo Machiavelli. Here's one on dating. The lonely one offers their hand too quickly to whomever they encounter. Again, the lonely one offers their hand too quickly to whomever they encounter. Here's one from Plato. Only the dead have seen the end of war. And my question on that is, well, what war are you in? Some people are in their own war while they're still alive. But the best part is a lot of those wars can be put to rest, put away, lessons rescued, and move forward. Another one on dating that I came up with was, when nobody wakes you up in the morning or is waiting for you to come home at night, what do you call it? Freedom or loneliness? Because there are a lot of people that would debate on that. And which one is ready to be in a relationship and why? And that'll come down to power of labels and values and criteria. And, you know, Triple T would not be complete without a shout out to Jordan Peterson. Yo, Jordan, give me a call. Anybody that knows how to, let him know. I got questions and lots of admiration. And I liked his thing on dating, which my talk for Hypnothoughts Live in Vegas is coming up end of the month. So trying to get ready for that. And one from Jordan was, how do I find my perfect mate versus what do I bring to the table? How do I improve myself to attract the person who I want in my life? And how do I conduct myself so that I'm the best possible partner? And I see a lot of my clients, especially in the dating and relationship, whether they're in a relationship or looking for one, they spend so much time looking outwardly for their perfect match. And one of the first things I tell them is, write down everything that your perfect match is, and then look at that and ask yourself, who would be their perfect match, and what can I work on to be that person? I know that I'm still working on myself because I dated outside my pay grade. And even if I didn't, I just want to continue to improve. And then, of course, there's that human factor, which means I'll always find something that I can improve on. And I'm cool with that. But what can you improve upon for your current or future or hopeful partner? Why is it important to you? What do you think is possibly blocking you from getting there? And how can I help you? Because I offer a free 30-minute consultation for anybody that would like to see if we're a fit. If we're not, I have lots of colleagues all over the world. Some of them are right on this beautiful screen in front of you right now, that I would be more than happy to refer you to. And that brings me all the way up to 3 minutes before the end of my first hour. Does anybody have any input, ahas, epiphanies, questions on what we've covered so far in this first hour? Yes, Lenora.
Hi, guys. The questions that you're asking right now, so like, what do I bring that I would attract the best possible person? Couldn't you also do that with, if you were putting out like something that you want to manifest or create or whatever label you'd like to add to it? Why is it important to you? What could you do to improve upon yourself to not, I guess, bring this into your life or into your experience or create into the experience? Like, almost kind of like looking ahead and seeing it from a different angle. Fair game.
Sorry, can you ask it again? I kind of lost you halfway through.
Yeah, me too. Good luck with that. Like if you wanted to create something, so the business that you want, or the not a person, not a partner type thing. If you wanted to create something else, or even like your clientele, you know, what kind of person would be, I don't know if worthy is the word that I'm looking for. Ironic that I'm having difficulty finding the word.
Aligned, harmonious.
Sure. There you go. Warmer.
May I?
Please.
DJ, you want to answer it? Okay. So, would you like to know the single linguistic construction or sentence, if you like, that is responsible for the most pain in human history?
I feel like we've discussed this and it's not
We
going to
have.
my brain. Yes,
We have discussed this.
You know where it is?
But I'm going to mention it again because it's kind of relevant now. It is, I'll be X when Y happens.
Yep.
Where X is a internal state, positive state, and Y is an external event. So I'll be happy when I'm in a relationship. I'll be confident when I lose the weight. I'll be free when I make more money, right? And the thing is, it's backwards. Because in order to get the thing that you think is going to give you the state, you need to be in the state first, right? So you know, I'll be worthy when I've built this business. Let's take that as an example. I know that's not what you said, but just using, I know that's not what you said, but I'm just going to use that as an example. I'll be worthy once I've built this business and it's successful. But here's the thing. You're not likely to build a business that is successful until you find yourself worthy. So there's this thing that one of my teachers, one of my favorite teachers, John Overdurf, talks about, called end state energy. And you can get to end state energy by doing some of these criteria and value questions that TJ talks about. So I was like, okay, you know, I'll be, you know, I want to make this business, but I'm not sure if I'm on that level, if I'm worthy, you know, am I worthy, am I not? So, well, okay, what's important about you building this business? Oh, it will give me, you know, more time to work on my own terms. Oh, really? More time to work on your own terms? Okay. Well, I'm curious, what's important about working more on your own terms more of the time? Well, I can spend quality time with my family and my loved ones and still be earning a decent living. Okay. So ultimately, if you are able to, you know, spend quality time with your family and your loved ones and still make a decent earning, what would that do for you? And there's going to come the answer like, oh, I'll be free, I'll be happy, I'll be whatever. Yeah. And then that's the state, that's the end state. And then you're going to tease it out. So it's like, oh, okay, so what's it like when you are free? What's it like when you are happy? And you're going to just bring that emotion up to the surface so that they can experience it now. Right? And once they are in that state now, then you ask them, okay, what's the next step you need to take? Because then they will have, you know, you talk about like, you might know like Abraham Hicks and all this like law of attraction business, right? They talk about raise your vibration to attract something, right? Let's say the thing you want to attract is up here. and you're like feeling sorry for yourself down here, right? Once you get into that end state energy of being free and being happy and being right, you've raised your vibration to the same level as the thing you're trying to attract. And now you're on the same level, so now you can get to it. But when you're coming from a place of lack or wanting, or, you know, like, oh, I don't have it yet, so I must not be enough, you're never going to get there, because the two are not connected. They're not on the same level. They're not on the same vibration. They're not on the same frequency, right? So by asking these criteria, value, style questions, or getting into what's really important about why they want the thing they say they want, and then once you have the answer, the state that they're looking for, the end state, teasing it out and bringing it to the surface using your hypnosis revivification skills to make it so that they can feel that way now, you'll raise their vibration to the same level of frequency that is on the same level as the thing that they want. And once they're aligned, which is why I said the word aligned in the first place, once they're aligned on that same level, then you can say to them, okay, now that you're feeling this way, what is the smallest next step that you have to take? Right? And I notice I said smallest next. And if they have to think about it, it's not small enough. It should be, when you say, what's the smallest next step? It should come out like that. Right? If they have, no, not small enough. What's smaller than that? And it might be something silly like, you know, I need to just go down to the coffee shop, get myself an iced latte and relax. Okay, that's the smallest next step. Go do that. And now that you've done that, what do you know now that you didn't know before you did that? Right? Well, now I have a cooler head. Now I can see much more logical steps. Okay, now that you have this knowledge, what's the next smallest step that you can do? And what will happen is you'll have a series of these incremental, tiny little baby steps. And one day, you can't predict when. You can guarantee that it will happen, but you can't predict when. At one point, one of those tiny little steps will be a quantum leap forward. And they might even overshoot what they were going for and get something better. In fact, most times that's what happens. Right? So it's about remembering that your kinesthetics, your feeling sense never leaves now. All your other senses, sight, sound, taste, smell, they can time travel. Your kinesthetics cannot time travel, okay? If I ask you, what does freshly baked bread smell like? And you kind of, right? You can time travel and re-experience it, right? What will it be like when it's Christmas Day and you get to see your niece? What's it going to be like on Christmas Day, Elijah, when you get to see your niece opening up her present? Oh, I'm going to be excited. I can't wait to see the look on her face. I can time travel. I can visualize that. I can hear her voice with all my senses. But with kinesthetics, no matter what you think about, past, present, future, that feeling, you will be feeling it now, here, now, in this moment. And so that's the trick, is to get you to be in the state now that you need to be when you got it. And then once that's aligned, then you make the journey. Being comes first, doing comes second, having comes third. It's always in that order: being, doing, having. Right? I was taught, like many people, that doing would lead to having, which would lead to being. And it's not my parents' fault. I don't blame them, because they didn't know any better. They told me if I work hard, then I will have success and then I will be somebody. Right? But it's wrong. I need to be that person first in my mind. And then I will, once I am being that person, I will naturally do the kind of things that that person does, which will lead to me having the kinds of things that those people have. That's the order: be, do, have. Sorry, TJ, rant, had to do it. Thank you.
No, thank you. We're into open mic session, so that was perfect.
Yeah. Any questions, Lenore? Did you get it? What I said? Did you does it make sense? Or?
Yeah, no, that I completely follow. It was a little different.
Did I answer the question, or was it different?
It was a little different, but I did
Okay, go on.
enjoy.
What's
I
the
enjoyed
question?
the steps. No, I'm good. I'm good.
No, we need to know.
Thank
I need
you.
to know.
I know. I'm going on mute now.
Fine, I'm out too.
He's lying.
I adore all of you. This is awesome. One of the squirrels that ran across the road when you asked your question earlier, especially for positions and things of that nature, 3-chair can work, especially on like interviews, to allow you to have insights on what might be coming up, what they may be looking for, and what you may have to bring to the table. Also, learning how to do the interview buster program that Dr. David Snyder came up with, where you're basically drilling for values and criteria from the person that is doing the hiring. So what are you looking for in an employee? What's important to you about an employee? What's important about the person that is going to be taking this position? And they'll give you all the nice answers, and that gives you the opportunity in the end to go, well, if you look at my resume, you'll notice that I have the ability to blah, 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 all the things that they said. Another place that this works great, and full kudos to Jason Lynette, who first told me about this, is when looking to drum up business at a BNI meeting, is making sure that you get to be the last person to speak and taking notes, listening to all of the other speakers, all the other businesses, so that when you finally get up, rather than giving the preset 30-second elevator speech, you get up and you go, well, the stuff that I do, like when you're in and you talk about that person's business, and then, for that person's business, and you list off the businesses and all the stuff that you could do to benefit them. And you get to the end and you go, well, that's basically what I do. My name is so-and-so, and here's how you get a hold of me. And in doing that, you've on the spot basically created a personalized ad for the people that are right in front of you, rather than trying to throw out a generic blanket 30-second ad that you hope will stick with somebody. Any questions on that? Because the first time I heard that, I looked at Jason in disgusted respect. It was like, dude, that was freaking brilliant. Why didn't I know that back then when I had my other businesses? And so the applications are huge when you understand the construct of how it's put together. Any input, questions, ahas, epiphanies on that? Yes, no? Well, this is open mic portion, so does anybody have any subjects, questions, things that you would like to ask or have me give my best approach on or open up to the community. Otherwise, this is going to be a really short triple T. I mean, come on. I'm going to have to start deep diving back into my quotes and stuff from before and see what strikes us.
Do it.
I was going to ask what one of the topics was money, and you mentioned that you were going to chase money comments today. So I don't know.
Don't chase money.
Well, comments. I did specify and say money comments.
Sorry, I reacted quickly.
Money is a very common, very common issue with that a lot of my clients come to me with. It's a universal. Everybody thinks that there's not enough money, or they don't make enough money, or that it's really hard to make money. And you know, how many quotes can we rattle off? You know, money doesn't grow on trees. What do you think I'm made of? Money? You know, who else? Help me out here. What else have you heard growing up as a kid?
You don't get nothing. You don't get anything for nothing.
Yeah.
Or as they say in the north of England, you don't get out for now.
What about the one? I'm not sure for the exact wording, but I've heard that they say you don't ask, you don't get, or something like that.
Correct.
That's what I think. That's a bit strange, you know, coming from a different culture.
Yeah.
It's kind of nuts. Well, if you don't ask, you're not going to get it anyway. You know what I mean?
Or the old famous, you know, just because your buddy's parents can afford it doesn't mean that you get, you know, that we can. And all of that starts imprinting limitations on what you're capable of. When in reality, there is more than enough money on this planet. And I mean, especially nowadays, if you've got a smartphone, internet access, there's money out there, and plenty of it. There are 17-year-old millionaires who figured that out. And they're not coming from wealthy families. They just didn't know that they weren't supposed to be able to make $1 million by the time they're 17. Which comes down to a lot of it is beliefs, mindsets. Yes, some of it can be argued as access to resources, but not as much now as it used to be, especially with smartphones now. I mean, I came across a guy on Instagram who paid off his college loans, his college debt in 1 year by scanning Facebook and Craigslist for free items, and had a pickup. He'd see a free couch. He'd take the picture and the post, repost it on his own, and instead of free, it was $100 with additional money for delivery. Somebody'd take him up on it. He'd drive over, pick up the free couch, drop it off, collect his money. There are ways to make money. And those that have been around me, you know, in my inner ring, they know I've been sending out some stuff that I like to that somebody else clarified as boring income. And the amount of stuff that is on that boring income Instagram profile, what the what? Oh my. And I've been looking into some of them, like I need more squirrels to corral and keep track of, and, more chickens to herd. But regardless, that's a choice. That's my choice. Right now, I'm making enough to be able to do what I need to do with the lifestyle that I've chosen. But I know that when something changes, I will be pursuing a number of these venues because the money is there. Not only is it there, there's a vast majority of them that are zero income startup. You don't have to have a ton of cash. You have to have access to the internet, whether it be through a smartphone or whatever. And for the vast majority of us, that's already in place. And that comes down later to two different things. Either you don't know or you're not acting on it. If you don't know, it's one thing, but it's out there. And as long as you know that it's out there, you can search for it. Once you found it, once you know it, it's up to you to act upon it. If you don't act on it, that's a choice. And if you're choosing that and you say that you want to make money and you know about these income options, but you're not acting upon them, then you can dig down to find out, what are the blocks, what are the reasons, why are you not acting upon something that you know is there, especially when it's zero upfront investment out of pocket. It's time with a device that you already own with access you're already paying for. And, for people with kids, I tell them all the time, research these things, not so much for yourself, but so that your kids know they're there. Support them. Make a game out of it, even if they do it virtually. Robert Kiyosaki first learned about business because his rich dad made him play Monopoly with him. And he turned the Monopoly game into real life. He knew that success meant 4 green homes and a red rental unit. Now he's got like 300 homes and 72 rental unit or apartment complexes. And that doesn't mean you have to start when you're a kid. Whenever you acquire the knowledge, there are so many stories of people, the Colonel Sanders, I love that one. Homeless, living out of his car, pretty much penniless, driving around trying to get people to buy his recipe for chicken. And they're like, I know how to make chicken. I ain't going to pay you to teach me how to make chicken. Finally, he was like, screw it. I'll make my own damn chicken. Well, I guess we kind of know how that worked out. And he started at 60. Hey, not bad. So assess where you're at, what you're looking for, what you want to do. Where do you want to go? 3 potential reasons why you may not be there. 3 potential solutions. How can you get there? If you're not sure how to get those answers, get a hold of me. I seem to be pretty good at helping people figure out why those blocks are there or how to get around them. And that brings us to the half hour. We got a half hour left. Any input or ahas, epiphanies, questions on what I just shared? Yes, Francine.
And also, if you look on any social media, I'm talking Facebook, TikTok, you can find anything related to finding a suitable role when you need it. There's like step by steps. I've seen TikTok videos who say, go there, do this, do here, do there. And you can make money straight away and then also learn a skill to make more money later.
Yes.
So there's no more, you can make a six-figure salary if you apply yourself for a certain amount of time, even for something you have no idea in.
Yes.
So it's no longer it's luck. No, it's all free. You can actually learn everything for free.
Yes.
And also what you can do is if you learn what's that called, that marketing, you market something for someone else and you get commission, then you can
affiliate.
That's it. You can learn affiliate marketing, but then you can learn how to do it with others and then apply it. It's the same for your own business. And so you can grow anything from nothing. Absolutely.
Yeah, what a concept. What an amazing world full of cash, of money all around us that we live in these days.
Yes, and I just recently had a look at affiliate marketing and I thought, well, I might just learn it because that's a good skill to have. And then you practice for other companies and you get paid for it, So
Yes.
it's like a no-brainer. Yeah.
One other way that I reframed it for one of my clients was, when you understand the power of passive residual income, it will change your outlook on what you do with your time. When I do timeline therapy on people, one of the visuals that I have them see is if you stand next to your timeline and you can see it going by every second of every minute of every hour, every day, you can't stop it. It's like a slow moving freight train. If you've ever been caught the train at the railroad tracks and you had to sit there and watch it, well, that's how your life is passing in front of you. And for people that only work 9 to 5, work, get paid, those cars going by have a lid on them. That hour that you gave to somebody else will only get filled with so much money. No matter how far down the track it goes, it will never get filled with anything else, because during that hour, you were in the factory, you were doing whatever, you were dedicated, you were only giving your time to that person, and they are only going to put so much money in that car that goes past. Entrepreneurs and the rich understand the concept that they can invest some money into, or invest time and talent into one of those cars, and it may leave that day going down the tracks empty, but the work that they did inside of that hour can continue to fill that car for the rest of their days. And sometimes that cash flow out of those 2-3 hours that they put in is very significant. Like Elijah's, if you don't have big dreams and aspirations, then you'll end up working for someone who does. Absolutely. That's why a lot of the A students end up working for the C students. The A students were very good at following orders and doing others and making sure that they did everything right. They didn't want to get an incorrect answer or anything. The C students were all, doing what they could, living life, and they were also learning to collaborate and understanding that you don't have to have straight A's to get through. What do they call a doctor who only got a C average in college? Doctor. Same as the one that's got an A average. And, it's not so much the title or the wallpaper like I've got here. It's what you do with what you got. I've met some career students in what I call the worst fashion. They don't apply it. They spend their entire life on a university campus and have no idea what real life is outside of it. Yeah, Francine said my husband is a mathematician and analyst. At his marks in high school were, yeah.
And also, I spell better than he does in English. I still manage to find mistakes in his spelling. He doesn't care about spelling.
Yeah, and yet he can analyze numbers like crazy. And part of the problem that we have, especially nowadays in the schools and stuff, is judging fish because they can't climb trees like a monkey, and then judging the monkeys because they can't swim underwater their entire life like a fish. And we're like, well, we want everybody to no. And what it does to self-esteem and blocks and things of that nature, it can be devastating, especially with some of the comments that come around it. I went from being a straight A+ student, kindergarten through 6th grade, and when I got to 7th grade, my grades dropped to C+. But the problem wasn't that I was dumb, I was bored. And they didn't have anything to, apply to that. There was no advanced learning programs in the school that I was in. And they were trying to treat me like a fish that couldn't climb a tree like a monkey. So there's that as well. Any other questions or topics or stuff we'd like to add to this? One little squirrel that popped up, especially when I was teaching my identity management university, in trying to change who we are, a lot of it's going to also be changing your habits. One of the best habits that has been pointed out is making your bed first thing in the morning. And it's part of it is that's your first accomplishment. You've done something with the day. It tells your subconscious that sleeping time is over, time to move on to the next thing to get things done. The other is teaching yourself little habits that help your future self. And a lot of it comes into learning some level of maintenance. I'm a little CDO, which is alphabetical for OCD because that's the way it should be. And people think I'm crazy because I will wipe out every sink I use every single time. Sink gets wet, I wipe it out. But what it does is the sinks stay in better condition longer, especially stainless steel. I've had people like, is that a brand new sink? I'm like, no, it's like 4 or 5 years. I don't know how old it is. I got it used. But because I wipe it out every single time I use it, it doesn't build up the water stains on it. I also have funky routines for, the way I wash dishes. And this is coming from somebody who, when I was a kid, washing dishes was the worst punishment ever. Get out the belt, whoop my ass, whatever. We had an 1.5 acres of property in town, and in the dead of summer, Minnesota, 100 degrees out, 80% humidity, mosquitoes the size of hummingbirds. I would prefer to mow the grass in the daytime in the summer versus washing the dishes until a friend of mine's sister taught me how to do it the right way. And now I do the dishes every single day with hardly any water, and they are all put away right away. So, and yes, you're right, Francine. It does stay shinier for longer and less cleaning is required. But part of it is learning that little habit of simply taking a few extra seconds to wipe it out.
And you save time in the long run because you're not going to have to clean the sink as often. So it's dry, it stays cleaner for longer, and you clean it less. It's just 2 seconds and it's dry. So it's kind of worth it.
And less chemicals.
Yes, of course. Absolutely. A little bit of 2 seconds of elbow grease, and it helps everyone.
The other thing that cracks me up is when people find out that I use like half to a quarter of the amount of laundry soap that they recommend. Because I'm like, do you think they're trying to get you to use as little as you need? Or are they telling you, yes, this is the serving cup you're going to need to wash your clothes, because if you used any more, your clothes would not be really as clean as we want them to because there'd be too much soap. So this is about the most we'll recommend you use. Notice how I said that. Our serving size for laundry detergent is about the most we would recommend you to use. That way we make the most profits.
I think it's the same with everything. It's, my mom, when she uses those dishwashing tablets, she cuts them in half. And so I decided to try and see, and it works the same. it's just got less residuals and less chemicals in it. It's the same with toothpaste. You know, I suppose it's a way to. It's not that we're cheap. It's just we're thinking about the environment and the chemicals in our lives.
I actually had a dentist that was honest enough with me, and he said, if you're going to use toothpaste, only use it once a day. Brush your teeth 3 times a day after you eat, but only use toothpaste once, and don't use a whole bunch of it. It's polish. It has a built-in abrasive to it anyway. That's why you can use toothpaste to polish headlights on cars. You can use toothpaste to polish a whole lot of stuff.
Contrary to popular belief, fluoride is not good for your teeth.
No, not good. But
and also, in my ex-husband was an antique dealer. He used to use toothpaste to do all the jewelry when they were.
yes, yeah, it's a great polishing agent.
Yeah.
I had a question. We'll be done at straight up 8 o'clock. Yeah, there's all sorts of those funky little mind-opening things that, the things that I also like is you start listening to your grandparents and, like, how did you survive back when you didn't, like, you answered the phone and didn't know who was on the other end? And if you didn't get there in time, you didn't know who called? And you didn't even have an answering machine? Like, how did they leave how did they leave a message? If it was important, they called back. If it wasn't, well, they'll get over it. I remember we weren't allowed to answer the phone while we were sitting down to eat. If we're sitting down to eat, that phone rings. They better understand when we eat around this place. And they can call back. There she is. So good to see that smiling face. So that's the secret to life. Yeah. We were running out of topics, so Fran, do you have anything you'd like to share? Ahas, epiphanies, questions, topics that we could dive into for you?
Well, my topic for this morning is scams and deception. So I don't know how that fits in with whatever you've been going on with. I received a text this morning that appeared to be from one of my daughters who'd broken her phone. And, I'm sure it's an old story for many people, but I haven't had one of these before. And it was so much in her style. So I guess that in relation to this session, it's about imposter syndrome. Talk to me about imposter syndrome, your style, TJ.
I would say it's ironic, but I know better because the longer we're around this type of stuff, there's very little that's truly ironic, and it comes down to questions. When the best way to find imposters is to get really good at asking questions. Yes, I have had more flippin' scam calls and texts and all this stuff, people taking over other people's profiles on social media and trying to present themselves as such. And the thing I've learned, start asking questions that only the other person would know.
Absolutely. That's the bottom line. But I was actually turning the table to when we are working with clients, sometimes me, I start feeling like, have I got the right to show myself as this? And it's usually only in periods of doubt when I think, I'm holding myself up as this person who knows all this stuff. Do I really? And maybe it's self-questioning, or maybe I think it's a fairly human quality.
Does the answer to that question, do I really, does it change with your state? Or is it always the same no matter what state you're in?
Thank you, Elijah. No, it does definitely change with state.
So it's who do I need to be in order for them to be the kind of person that can get the change they want?
Yeah. And we all, we always have to present that, but it's what's happening inside when you're in moments of doubt.
You change your posture.
Yep.
Yeah, you change your posture, you do your shoulders, you take a deep breath, you move around, because that's how you're going to override it. If you try and think your way out, it's going to be too hard.
Yeah, and a little bit of deep trance identification can help too.
And we had touched a little bit on this subject earlier, is your intention. As long as your intention is correct and in line with your ethics and your values and criteria, and you're truly trying to help them, there will be, I've even had it where there were times where I've had to ask questions that, do I have the right to ask that question? But my intention was such that I needed to drill down deep enough to figure out where that demon was hiding. That's what they came to me for. That's what they trust me for. And if that's the only way to get deep enough to get to where the change is, then it is what it is.
And when you do dig down that far to find the demons and the scary things, it is where the precious stuff is, where the change happens. You're so right. And having the courage to take your client there, on it. And I think very often being that person who has to take responsibility to take that client there, it does make you step up. Would you agree?
Absolutely. And one of the lighthearted jokes that I tell my clients, especially in my consultation, is, it's my job to be there with you until I get you back to a safe spot. So if we open up Pandora's box and the seven-headed dragon jumps out and brings the whole trailer park with him, my job is to make sure that I'm there to battle with you until we get you back to the safe spot, no matter how long it takes. And I've had a couple of sessions that have gone 4 hours straight. because not only did the dragon bring the whole trailer park, it brought second cousins twice removed, the redheaded stepchild from across the street, and a few bozos from the circus. But you don't know that going in, so you got to go.
So when you're dealing with all these demons and dragons, very often, or some people's perception of how to deal with this stuff is to actually find a place of being able to forgive the demons and the dragons. Do you have any comments or thoughts that you'd like to make about forgiveness of what people would at first find unforgivable?
First, find out why they're there, why they're still alive, and point out that they've survived the initial attack. The demons and dragons are from their past. They've already survived that battle. It kind of like an amazing quote that I heard recently was, you can blame it on a bad day. You didn't have a bad day. You had a bad hour, and you've been milking it ever since. And you survived it. And it's funny, when I shrink it down to the bad hour, what happened to you? Well, they said this. They said it for an hour? Actually, how long did the interaction happen? Well, probably about 10, 15 minutes. Okay, so you had a bad 15 minutes, and you've been milking it ever since. And all of a sudden it shrinks down. Now you extract the lesson, you look at what's left over. Do you want to hang on to that? No. You get rid of that, but you hang on to the lesson. You've effectively killed the dragon in that process. And Elijah's got something he wanted to add.
Yeah, it's very close actually to what you said. Here's the thing. And it might seem a little confrontational when I do something like this to a client, but I'd be like, where are they? Are they here? Are they in the room? Are they shouting at you right now? Where are they? What's happening now? What do you mean, Elijah? I'm here talking to you now. Nothing else is happening. Oh, really? So it's in your mind? Does that mean, so wait, it happened at one point, no doubt about that. And it was not a good thing. There's no doubt about that, right? I'm not condoning it. But here's the thing. Where are they right now? How is what's happening right now here in this moment affecting you? And what's the source of that? And the sooner you find out that it's something inside your head, well, maybe not inside your head, inside your mind, let's say, to be complete, because your mind is not only in your head, right? It's actually your head that's in your mind. Get your head around that. So, sorry, I went off on a tangent and open loop myself. So, that means, think about it, right? If they're not here right now and they're not doing it to you right now, and it is inside your head, that means you're making it up and feeling the pain of it right now inside your mind. So why not make up something else that makes you feel better? It's as ridiculous as what you've been doing already. So why not do something ridiculous that makes you feel better? Rather than this ridiculous notion that I can keep repeating the same memory, because that's all it is. And the fact of the matter is, every time you remember, you know this about memory reconciliation, Fran, right? Every time you remember something, you don't remember what actually happened back then. You remember the last time that you remembered it. And every time you've remembered it, you've changed it slightly from its original form. Right? So here's the thing. If they're not here, and it's not happening now, and it's only inside your mind, that means there's a part of you that's holding on to it and replaying it and doing that to you. And I would be okay with you, you know, not necessarily have to forgive them for what they did. You can karma police all that stuff, right? But definitely forgive that part of you for continually reminding you when it no longer needs to. You can't vilify a part of yourself, because you can't just love the soft middle part of the bread. You have to love the crust too, because one can't exist without the other. And once you learn that it's not about vilifying that part of me that's been holding me back, it's about thanking that part of me who looked after me so well that even I couldn't override it, then you have this what's called integration, where that droplet of water rejoins the whole of the ocean, and suddenly there's this energy release and this lightness and alignment that comes back within yourself. I know I kind of rambled a little bit, and you look like you have a question, Fran.
My head's spinning.
Wow, ninja spin.
Ninja spin, yes. Yeah. So that's sort of forgiving in one way, but externally.
Well, okay, here's the thing, right? Are they here? The person who did the horrible, are they here? Do you think that wherever they are, at whatever distance, whatever different time zone, whatever other activities going on elsewhere in the world, wherever they are, do you think that they're thinking about you right now? So the energy, it's a one way. It's not, there's not an exchange. It's a one-way energy. And, you know, as harsh as it might sound, you're doing it to yourself.
Yeah.
And there's great power in accepting that, because once you realize that you are, or you have been doing it to yourself, right? Then that means you can choose to do something else for yourself instead, in its place. Because nature abhors a vacuum. So you can't just take it out and say, okay, I'm going to stop doing that. You have to put something else in its place. Right? And that's the key. A lot of the coaches, a lot of the therapists they're so trigger happy to nuke the bad shit, right? But they don't replace it with anything.
Yes.
That's
right?
what you do with habits and addiction.
You need to take the part and give it a new role. Hey, you're really good at reminding me of stuff. You're really good at running pictures over and over inside my mind. Would you mind please reminding me to go to the gym every day? Would you please mind reminding me of exercising and putting those pictures of me exercising every day? This is something that's well within the scope of your capability, Mr. Part or Mrs. Part, because you've done something that's a lot harder than that already. And this I might find actually useful. And suddenly that part of you is going to be like, hell yeah, I'll do that for the boss. I'll do that. I want to be part of the team. I don't want to be the one who's, you know, on the sad side of the equation. I want to be on the happy side, the achieving side of the equation. Right? And suddenly the same part has a new responsibility, and it can do it just as well, if not better.
Yeah. Well, once you get them on the team.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's at the end of the day, it's a reframing job, right? It's a reframing job. And it's a matter of, here's the thing about reframing, right? You see things one way, your client sees things another way. In order to get them to see things, wait, which one was which? You, this one's you. This one's you seeing it this way, and your client seeing it that way, right? And you want your client to see things a different way, which doesn't have to be your way, but any other way that's not the way they've been seeing it. But if you try to do it from the same logical level, it doesn't work, because they have defenses and justifications and experiences that will suck them back into their own reality and say, well, no, that doesn't work because, and then they're going to come back to the problem. So what you have to do when you reframe is you have to either chunk up or chunk down, and then change it on a different level. And once you've changed it on the other level, then come back to the original level and say, and see, that means, and bring it back to the same logic that they were using in the first place. And then that will untwist it. So the best way to win an argument with someone is to not argue on the same level that they're arguing. Is to say, hold on a minute, if you think about this and go to a different level with it, make your point on that level, and then say, well, that means, and then come back to the same level, then they will be like, oh yeah, he's got a point. That's how you do reframing, really. You have to chunk up and chunk down. And the reason why John Grinder said he was so good at what he did in NLP was because he said he's able to do lateral chunking, which is be able to do that maneuver without going up or down first. And that's what made him so quick at spotting where the reframe was when he was working with people. But to get good at chunking laterally, you should get good at chunking up and down first. And then at some point, your unconscious might be like, oh, skip that step and just do it. We'll do a class on that one day. We'll do a class on reframing one day.
Yeah, well,
Okay.
your turn's
Eventually,
coming up again soon.
when I get up off my lazy ass, eventually we'll do that class.
That'd be really
Right now,
cool.
I'm just chilling. You know?
Well, that's a way of exercising your demons rather than exorcising your demons.
Right. What is the hidden? I'll bring you back to Milton Erickson. What is the hidden superpower? Right.
Reframe.
What is the hidden special ability where this can be used? For example, I was talking to someone who was hanging out, having coffee, sitting outside on the coffee shop. You know, they have tables outside and stuff. It was nice weather. And there was this woman, she was shouting on the phone. She's on the phone. The microphone's right next to her. She's shouting, no, but you don't understand. Shouting. And he's like, oh my God, she's so loud. And I said, yeah, I bet she'd make a great cheerleader. And he laughed. So what did I do? I took her behavior and put it in a scene where it would be appropriate. You know, she'd make a great cheerleader. And regardless of what he says, his initial unconscious response was to laugh, which means it's okay. And I've already won the reframe, if you can consider it a competition, which it's not. But if you consider it winning and losing, scoring and missing, that kind of thing, then you would consider that a successful reframe. And it can be as simple as that, because really what you're doing when you're reframing is you're changing context. Context is, someone finish this sentence. What's the next word? Context is blank. Context is, come on, TJ. Context is
Squirrel, what?
somebody. Holly, please, somebody.
Everything.
Guada. If you don't answer this, I'm going to be mad. Context is what? King. Okay. Context is king, guys. Okay. There are some things that you can say down the pub with your mates and you'll get a big laugh. You say the exact same words in the exact same tone in a different scenario and someone will shoot you. Right? Context is king. And really what you're doing when you're working with your clients is you're not trying to get them out of their problem, or you're not trying to change the way they think. You're not trying to hypnotize. No. What you're going to do is build a context around them so that they can solve their own problem.
Yes.
That's what you're really doing. That's the art of making it invisible. That's the art of having the other person leave the session and go, well, you know, that hypnosis stuff, I don't really know if it helped me, but I kind of figured it out on my own while I was in my eyes closed, but I don't think he really did anything. And that's fine. That's the best possible result, because you don't want to disempower them. I helped you with your problem, Mr. Client, right? No, you want them to have their moment in the sun where they're like, yes, you know what? I overcame this. You want that for them. So really, you're not trying to drag them out of the problem. You're not trying to reshape the problem. You're not trying to get them to look at it. You're just building the surroundings and the context and making a situation, creating a situation where they have the ability to solve it themselves.
David
So-
had a saying for that is people won't
What's this what you
always accept what you tell them,
Yeah.
but they will always accept what they
you make
conclude
them
on their
feel.
own.
Yeah, that one. Yeah. People will resist what you tell them. they will never resist what they conclude.
Yeah.
Yeah. People will forget what you say. They will never forget how you make them feel.
Yes.
Right. And if you can engineer a situation where they can feel empowered and conclude something on their own, then you're winning. In this game of coaching and therapy, you're winning.
So how
people,
could you use
sorry, go ahead.
Sorry.
No, you go ahead. I'm done. I was just going to say.
How do you use that reframe? I've come across people and that change of context who have had something happen when they were little. And I know you've explained it one way, but I'm asking for another way as well.
Mm-hmm.
Something's happened when they were little and they will never forgive that person. Doesn't matter what you say, they will never be able to reach a point of forgiveness.
As long as that's fine, Mr. Client, Miss Client, that's absolutely fine. You don't have to forgive them.
Yeah.
I'm not here to make you do that. Okay.
So how can you
as
help
long as you can assure me that you not forgiving them does not hold you back in your life in any way.
Yes.
Right? If you can convince me and tell me that you not forgiving them is a benefit to you and it's not holding you back in any way, then I'm fine with that. You don't have to forgive them. It's not my business. It's your business. But if you having that bad experience and remembering it somehow makes you afraid in a future experience, then we've got a problem. Right? And you don't necessarily have to forgive them to solve that problem, but just enough switching around and moving around and massaging the meaning and context engineering that at least, even if you choose not to forgive them, it doesn't hold you back in any way going forwards.
And one client, when I said, look, it's absolutely fine if you don't forgive them, having that permission to not forgive actually gave them the freedom that they needed. So
this is another one. It's reactance, right?
Yeah.
People will automatically push back against any attempt to force something on them, right? They will instinctively, like there have been times when my mum has told me something that's really good for me and I've just ignored it because she said it. And I didn't want her to say it. I wanted to figure it out on my own. And I'm stubborn like that, and we all are, right? There's people who've told me, nope, this girl's no good for you. This girl's no good for you. She's going to break your heart, Elijah. And I'm like, no, you don't know her the way I do, right? And that kind of thing, because at the end of the day, we hate having our own autonomy taken away, our own independence, our own free will. We will not allow someone else to take that away, right? Which, if you listen to me now, friend, you've been in many video calls with me over the past couple of years now, right? Regularly. How many times do I say, I'm going to ask you some questions, and you know what? You don't even have to answer the question if you don't want to. I'm baking it into the start. Right from the very beginning, I'm like, you don't have to if you don't want to, but I'm going to continue down this path. And if you choose not to, that's fine. What I'm doing is I'm baking in from the very beginning, you're in charge, you're your own person, you make your own decisions. I'm not here to force anything on you. And once they have that, they are much more likely to cooperate. And if they cooperate, then you have compliance. And if you have compliance, then hypnosis will work, suggestions will work. But if you ask someone to do something or give them a suggestion and they go, no, I'm not doing that, then you can't help them. Right?
Another answer that I like to give them is, you don't have to forgive them, but what would be a way that you could make them pay in the most appropriate fashion? If the karma police could come and take care of it, how could it be taken care of in the most appropriate fashion so that you can feel better about it?
That's the key, so that you can feel better about it.
Yes. And in that fashion, all of a sudden they'll come up with something that, the karma police, I don't have to be the one that has to get out there and take care of it. It'll be taken care of in the most appropriate fashion so that I can feel good about what happened and move on.
Right. You don't forgive because the other person deserves forgiveness. You forgive because you yourself deserve peace.
Exactly.
That's the reason to forgive.
Yep.
Right?
That's beautiful stuff. Exactly what I needed to hear. Thank you.
Yay!
TJ, you put on a hell of a show, man. This is great. I'm so sad I missed a few recently. I need to start coming back to these every single day. Seriously, today was great, man. I love it. Thank you. Thank you so much.
And unfortunately, we're at the top of our second hour, which means that I get to again remind you guys of how much I adore you. Thank you so much for being here and present and sharing and asking questions and all the input that you provide, not only for those of us that are here right now, but for all the people that are watching the recordings. I've actually
comment, subscribe.
Yes. I actually had a couple of people that have reached out to me that said they can't make it because of work or whatever to these, but they've watched the recordings and got major input and help simply by the stuff that we, not me, we have brought up. I could just show up and be a talking head and hope that, but I show up because you guys show up. Gives me a reason to try and come up with something new to share. So yes, you guys improve my life, and I hope that I improve yours somehow. And before I get all mushy and feely and stuff like that, I'm gonna remind you guys to, share this with as many people as you can. And thank you. And I appreciate the comments you guys have put on my on the stuff. Not just for me, but it kind of validates that we're actually doing something here for the people that haven't watched it. So thanks again. Time for me to go. I want to respect your time as I always try to. I adore you guys. Have a great night, great week. See you back in 7. Bye.
Thanks.